Welcome to my world once again, the video channel that tries to satisfy you. My mission is clear and it has always been established at every given opportunity. The mission is to bring that symbiotic relationship between you, the public, and the medical laboratory scientists for a better health. Health is wealth and knowledge is power. I shall impart knowledge and knowledge on health matters. So you can imagine what you will get by listening and going through all that I shall present. By watching this video, you will be able to gain knowledge, which is power, and health, which is wealth. So you have both power and wealth. Today's topic, I shall dwell on blood infections. Blood infection knowledge. Generally, we look at blood as life. Yes, blood is life because it is the heart of every human being that pump that life-giving water, colored water, red colored water, containing so many substances to all the various tissues and organs of the body. But what is it pumping? What is it supplying? Is it supplying health or infection? So if it's supplying infection, what type of infection is it supplying? There are various types of infection and it is given various names. If what is being supplied to all the cells and organs of the body is bacteria in nature, bacteria is the commonest. Bacteria in blood is called Bacteremia. And once it's inside the immune system will respond with fever. So any foreign body in the blood will always create that necessary response from the immune system, our defense mechanism that God has put in place. That immune system will create that necessary fever, which is very common. It's a very common symptom and sign of blood infection. So when you have bacteria in your blood, it is called Bacteremia, and it is very common with almost all organisms, especially when one is immunocompromised. The immunocompromised patient will have all types of bacteria really invading the blood and going from places to place. The most dangerous place to go is the brain, this central nervous system. When it's able to enter the brain, it is called meningitis. And common bacteria that cause meningitis are the meningococci, Neisseria meningitidis. We have also others, Phyllos influenza. So many of these bacteria will cause meningitis. But that is as far as I will go today on Bacteremia. The next one that enters the blood is viruses, and it is called Viremia. Viruses also can penetrate and cause meningitis. The most common in Africa, especially in this side of our world, Nigeria, is Parasitemia, and a very good example of this protozoa that cause malaria sickness. That cause the parasitemia is malaria parasites. The malaria parasite is very common. So once it is in the blood, like I said, any foreign body in the blood will bring about temperature increase, which we call fever. Fever is the common feature of parasitemia. Just mention malaria parasites. That is very common. Commonest in Nigeria especially. We have also leishmaniasis, trypanosomiasis, and other protozoan infection. Protozoa is a very common infection of the blood. Many of them reside or have their life cycle in the blood. We can then go on to fungi. I have mentioned viruses after bacteria. Viruses like yellow fever. You have the arboviruses causing serious problems. Even Coxsackie, the rubella, it could cause serious, especially in children, in neonates. But the other one that I shall go on to is the fungal infection. Fungi is another class of microorganisms that really infect the blood, especially when patients are immunocompromised. Immunocompromised patients will surely come down with all kinds of sicknesses. So you can then imagine fungi penetrating the blood, colonizing. Fungi itself is very difficult to eradicate on the skin, but the commonest fungal infection in the blood is Candida albicans, and there's something similar to it, Cryptococcus nymphomas. But in many immunocompromised patients, other fungi species, Trichonosporum, aspergillosis, and so on, could cause serious problems there. So I have decided today to do the laboratory diagnosis of the Fungemia. It will be limited to Fungemia. After that, I shall do other ones like the Bacteremia and so on and so forth. The serious situation of blood infection is when it becomes septicemic. That is, it has perforated, it's all over. The person has really come down. It is no longer called Bacteremia or Fungemia or Viremia or those species, but now identify as serious debilitating sickness that the person is bedridden and a serious matter. So you now say the person is suffering from septicemia. And the problem with all these types, all these various types of blood infection is that the treatment, the drug that will treat one does not treat all. So when you hear people talking about gbogbo ishe, that is a drug that can do everything, it is not when you are talking of orthodox treatment. You are talking of probably those treatments that they cannot explain how it is able to treat all. So because it is not possible to treat all, there is that need to specifically identify what is causing the problem. So today, in this video, you shall be watching the laboratory diagnosis of Fungemia, that is fungi in the blood. So like I've always advised, let us subscribe, let us like, so that more quality production can come from me to you, and we can all be enriched, live a better life, live a healthier life, and God will comfort, always be there to make sure that His grace is enough for each and every one of us. Thanks. All the while I have spoken about the cause. Now let's talk about the sources. How do we really come about this blood infection so we can manage it very well? The babies can be infected in utero. It can also happen during delivery. Abdominal infection, we have perforations that will now leak into the blood. There is the common Anopheles bite that causes malaria parasite infection, and the catheter venous dental extraction, also very important for bacterial crisis, and the on-screen blood. Yes, that is the topic I shall be treating. The risk factor that disposes us to it, age, when we are age, and babies under the age of 1 year old. Immunocompromised people and immunosuppressed patients are facing with very clearly. When you use probiotics for Fungemia and HIV diabetes patient. Burns, if you have burns, you can have Fungemia. So my concentration is on Fungemia right now, and the laboratory diagnosis is on it. The Fungemia is the presence of fungi or yeast, and the commonest is the Candida albicans. You see, it can also be called Cancidemia. The stage 1 is when you collect 10 to 12 ml of blood and you put it into the BHI bottle. The stage 2 is probably when you are shaking the biophasic culture and then you allow the thing to grow, and you'll be monitoring it all along. Everything is done in the laminar flow to avoid contamination. The system is now automatic when you use Bactec microlytic blood culture bottles. Since it's a system, it means it is automatic. It can do all the parameters on its own, including the sensitivity testing. This first one contains the micro dilution bottles that you can do your sensitivity, everything complete. The screen itself is showing clearly the spectrophotometric readings. These are classes. We have about 4 classes of antifungi: the polyene, the imidazole, the pyrimidine, and glycine. The commonest being imidazole, because you see them used these days for systemic diseases. And what we are talking about is systemic, that is bloodstream infection, or systemic. It's inside the body. Generally, imidazole class resistance among Candida species is less than 2%. But in order to avoid increase in microbial resistance, there is a need to find the MIC, and that is done by micro dilution to get the 50. The agar dilution is where we really do that carefully. So just subscribe and like.